we join back in for part two of our adventure. Last part, the group had finally arrived at the camp at Lake Sith, where they met with Kanda. And before waiting for the right time, needing to wait to be able to access the portal, they have, for at least Dante, has completed the initial stages of how to access the healing forms of fire as opposed to the damaging ones. I am going to join back with the group, but as we do join back in, Dante, as you're sat, one thing that you are now aware of, it's almost like all of your flames are being called to the surface. So you're getting the impression that yes, while this is allowing you to access this higher form of fire, it is also going to make all the other tendencies of fire stronger as well. But we join as Dante. How long do you think you would sort of sit and stay in this moment?
He honestly will stay there until dragged out or kind of talked out. He will be there crying the entire time. He's just sat there listening to his wife and daughter, because obviously he can't see, he just hears their voices. Sobbing, wishing that, say, he had never left that following day. But also at the same time just happy to where he had forgotten potentially their voices or things that they may have said. He's just there sobbing. He doesn't care if it's a dream. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything.
Okay.
He's finally heard him.
In which case, how long would the other two leave it before maybe speaking or saying something to disturb the silence?
Probably no more than 5 minutes. I'd want to give him a chance to recover, but then if he wasn't moving after that, I would try to help him gently to his feet. And if needs be, I can carry him.
So you would, as you approach Eleni, obviously the flames are still there. Though as you sort of place a hand on Dante, you feel that contact of a hand on yours, even in the dream space. And as you open your eyes, there is a figure that it's the silhouette of Eleni.
Sacred flame.
Yeah. The silhouette of Eleni, like in this, in the space outside your house, but they are like completely silver. And there's almost like, if you imagine not the moths, because there's too many to pick out any individual moths, but there's almost like silver movement within the silhouette.
You've come to join. Can you hear?
I think it's time to go, Dante. Do you think you can stand? Come with me.
Dante will look out towards the door and window that he can never get close to, and will just listen intently for 5-10 seconds, maybe 10 Mississippis, and then we'll kind of go with Eleni out of this dream state.
And as you stand, the dream does disapparate, the flames do die down. I think the last final thing is that voice, the voices. As you breathe and the flames all quash off your body.
I probably haven't actually even noticed, I'd imagine. Like in my dream state, did I turn blue? Or was I still...
Yes, the flames in your dream state were blue as well.
Okay.
So you also saw the deep black and red flame at the center.
As he kind of comes to, he's going to be a little bit groggy. He starts just looking around and then just go... Where's Tanabori? Am I healed? Can I heal now?
I don't know. Do you think you can?
Let's get out of here and find out. Where's the door?
Where is the door?
Okay, so again, you two would be able to head over to the wall that's just ice. And as you sort of place a hand to it, you start to freeze over in a very similar way to when you entered. And almost this time step forwards into the ice. And again, as you're stepping like forwards, without feeling when or how, the shift almost suddenly comes and you are emerging from the surface of the lake. For Volu on your side, it's maybe been 2 hours before there is not a violent emergence, but almost just the noise of somebody now stepping into the water. You are all soaking wet. It is like you have just been swimming in the lake.
Lovely.
And you are cold.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, probably not.
I'll gesture over them to come to the
yeah, and
hearth.
Kanda will jump up. They sort of got blankets and other such ready, and they will say, get out of your wet clothes as soon as you can and hang them by the fire. And they will be giving you blankets that are clean and dry, and allowing you to get out of the soaking wet, freezing clothes.
Can I not just heat my own clothes up?
Yeah, probably, but I mean, you're less the issue. People like Eleni and Ichi still frostbite and such as.
Oh yeah, I know them. I just meant me.
Yeah, you should be fine, but they do sort of bring over blankets and other such things, and they've got some stew ready. As you're the wait until people are starting to settle around the hearth before they sort of say successful.
How do we test it?
Dante will just reach out a hand, just try to ignite, produce flame or something like that.
So give me a charisma saving throw this time at advantage.
Oh, not great, but better than what that second roll was. 13.
You do have your +3 from
16.
Okay, so you're trying to listen out, and you sort of reach out, and for a second, the sort of natural noises of the birds and the other creatures nearby. Again, you don't shift fully into that dream space, but it's almost if you close your eyes, you can hear the voices again for a second, and your hand lights up a blue flame.
As he kind of hears those voices, the flame doesn't last for too long because he almost wants to stop. I know it's not technically concentration, but for longer, better term for it, gets distracted and then starts wanting to kind of listen to those voices again.
Do we think we need to find... I'm sort of wishing we hadn't completely destroyed that wyvern now, but do you think we need to find something that's afflicted so that we can test this properly?
There's many people in the temple.
That's true. I suppose we may even get attacked on the way back anyway, but...
Dante just kind of looks down at the stew and he's just like moving stuff around.
Well, of course, you should stay the night. You are also welcome to stay here as long as you wish. I know that Voldy was waiting for your return to make a definitive decision. I won't have to move on for a few days. They do seem a little tired, however, and they will sort of say, I'm going to return to my chambers to rest for a little bit, but if you need anything, just shout. And they'll head on in and leave you sat around the crackling fire.
How do you feel?
Me or Volo before I answer?
Well, you first probably, and then...
Happy, sad, regretful, hopeful. Just looks down and like kind of uncloths the wooden carvings. I'd forgotten their voices, the words they said. He carefully, without burning, like kind of puts his like fingers over these carvings. What would they think of me now?
I think they'd be proud of you. You survived.
And then just looks down at himself. I'm not even the man, not even the race that they knew.
That doesn't change the person you are inside.
But they still guide and help me now.
Volo, how did you get on while we were away?
Well, I won a fair amount of games against Kanda. We don't play for money. We don't really have the need for it where we're from. But they'll be in my debt for some time, I think. But I doubt that's what you're asking about.
It's up to you to share what you'd like.
Oh, sound like you've got a flame in your throat, Dante. Sorry, I keep deflecting. I'm just... You think you know somebody, and then everything gets thrown. Your whole perspective gets warped, and the next time you see them, they're different. Even if they haven't changed, they have changed for you. And I waited till you came back. I said it was because I didn't want to disturb the ritual, but it was more that I was scared. I do need to talk to her, though. You guys are cold. Well, maybe not Dante, but tired. You guys should get some rest. I'll be out here. I'll have the bag of holding back. Yeah, Ichi. I trust it more with you.
Sure.
I'm just going to sit on the lake for a few hours, and then I'll get Kanda when she's had a bit more rest.
Okay.
And I'll see you in the morning.
Before you go out, like we said to Dante, you're not alone. I know after a lot of the things you've been through, it's easy to feel that way. But as I promised Dante, I will more than happily promise you As long as you need me, and as long as you want me, I will be here as a companion, as a friend, and as an ally in anything you need me for.
Thank you, Ichi. As I'm handing the bag back over, you'll notice that the sausages are now up my sleeve.
Yeah, I definitely do notice that with a passive perception of 16. But I say nothing.
You're muted, Liam.
There's a bundled shape in his sleeve that looks strangely like a coil of sausage links.
It's getting slowly greasier as it's just absorbing.
But yes. Okay, so anybody wanting to actually go for a long rest can do. If you're wanting to still do watches, let me know. But I think at least for Volu taking the potential first watch, at least you sit on, find your perch on the lake. Give me a perception as if you're watching out over there.
16.
Okay. The next few hours seem to pass fairly peacefully. There are a few times you notice noises of sounds like calls from the mountains and then shifts of things above. There's definitely a few times you hear the soft of beating wings, but nothing seems to approach any closer than just passing overhead. Eventually, you would sort of notice the moon starting to disappear behind some clouds as time seems to be passing onwards towards the morning.
Who would... one, do we want to do watches? And two, who would be taking the next watch?
I think, I think each will at least be up for doing watches just because it's part of the routine at the moment.
Dante would probably be doing the next one, to be honest, because he probably hasn't gone down either.
Sure.
I mean, it's early hours, isn't it? And we got some rest beforehand. So do we need a full 8 hours now, Liam? Was that interrupted?
It's less about that mechanically, long rest wise, because you're at the point that you can. Whether you sleep or not, and this is why I sort of left it to you guys. Like, you might just go and lie down for a bit, but it is early hours of the morning. But so I'd say, Volu, as you sort of turn around and start thinking about going to get somebody, you would see Dante probably still sat by the fire.
So I'll go over to Dante and go, Do you mind if you take the next watch? I'm going to wake Kanda and see if I can speak to
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Are you within yourself, or do I need to get Ichi?
I am me.
That's good to hear.
Dante's in control.
Well, I'll give him a pat on the back and then head in to get Kanda.
Burns his hand.
Okay. You would go in and wake Kanda. Kanda sort of gets up and morning already, or do you need something further?
Let's talk to Mum.
Okay. You see they reach down into the bag and pull out. You notice it's the satchel that you guys would use for like gathering stuff. If you were just back home, it's like the one that hangs on the side, but they pull that out and they motion for you to leave. We need to walk a short way, but it will not be far. And they lead round the edges of the lake. And on one of the sides, so all around the lake, with its proximity towards the forest, there are trees, obviously, that aren't on the map just because they're so small a cluster or whatever that they're not worth putting on a large scale map like this. But they lead you over to almost perfectly north on the lake. And within a small cluster of trees, there is a tree in the center that is of a completely different bark. If you imagine the trees around this are sort of like almost like a redwoody brown classic bark, this is like a Saharan African grey sort of style thing. And as they approach, they don't say anything to you, Volu, but they do a soft little bow. That they don't say necessarily have to, but it very much gives you. There are times when you visited old trees of knowledge and wise treants and things like that, where it's almost giving respect to not just the creature, but the thing the creature represents. Before approaching. And as you get a little closer, you can see that what a distance looks like a knot in the tree. You can see is Tanabori's face carved perfectly out of the tree. Let me know. Well, I need to do a few things first. Let me know when you are ready. This was set up, as far as I'm aware, they will have no knowledge of what has transpired since this was made, but they sort of reach into the bag and pull out almost like a wrapping of sage with arcane sigils on it, and they light it and sort of hold the smoke underneath the face, and you see after a moment all the smoke begins to funnel into the nose and mouth, and slowly the eyes open and the face materializes. And obviously with Tanabori's face naturally being made out of bark, there's no shift in that sense. But all of a sudden, the still carving begins, sort of the facial features move and twist. And they, my children, how are you all?
Volu will be hesitant to speak, almost letting Kanda respond first.
Kanda will say, I am well, thank you. I have brought Volu as requested. I will give you the time. Volu will look to you and say, I can be as close or as far as you want, but for now I will just be there. And they basically, if you imagine there's a short little path of grass that leads up to the tree, they're just going to sort of sit themselves at the bottom of this patch of grass and again sort of start fiddling with a few things.
Is that you?
They smile. As much of me as we can dare have reach at this moment.
I'll stem my hand and touch the side of her cheek. Can you feel when I do that?
A hand sort of shifts, almost growing out of the tree and places itself on top of yours. The real me does not know. They will live this moment in a dream.
I've been thinking of what to say to you. To see you again. I was hoping I would feel that connection, that warmth, but instead of a warm embrace, it feels like hatred spewing fire inside me. Why? I was a child. And you took me from my parents. I only remember the face because I almost died. What gave you the right to do that to me, to the halflings? Did you think you could just use life? That's not what we're about. It's just tainted everything that we had.
I don't have any rights or reason. And I'm sorry, Volu. You were not calculated for. We believed what we were doing was necessary. We have pushed so hard and so forcefully that this world being cut away from the cosmic wheel seemed almost inevitable.
Your words feel as cold as that lake. You were not calculated.
Your time with us changed us all. I think if not for the miscalculation, then we would still be very much cold and calculating as we were. Our world has been dying for a long time, Volu. I know this does not feel important to you, but we watched the Feywild rot. Anyone who touched it died. For thousands and thousands of what this plane calls years. We pushed and pushed, and then we met the Lord of Brath, who had an idea. Understand that if we succeed in cutting the material plane away from the cosmic wheel, there is a large section of the Fae that goes with it. When Larixa interfered and stole the item that was to sever your world, the other factions became more desperate. And when the corruption began again, I believe there is somebody with you that is part of a... I do not know what they call themselves on your plane, but over here we call them Watchers. Knights. I was quite fearful for your life when I heard you were travelling with one. We attacked their forts. We slaughtered them all. And in the center, there was a room they used to divine things. And I saw where our mission led. It does not lead to a severed Astera and a free of corruption plains. It leads to a trapped and corrupt place that only festers while the corruption still spreads on our home plains. They will not stop anymore, Volu. I cannot stop them, no matter how much I convince or... So we set other plans in motion. And yes, I am sorry that it hurts to hear it talked about so casually, but the plans to confuse divination by having many, many, many unknowing sleepers was one of about 17 plans we put into action at the time. You understand I am not the only person within the factions that is resistant to what is going to happen. In truth, I do not even know what some of my elemental and celestial counterparts are doing. The nature of trying to keep everything confusing and separate. I did not know that you would be resistant to the memory magic. I did not know that you would question everything. I did not know that you would convince the others to leave. You know, you got lost in the Feywild for 3 weeks with 5 or 6 of your fellow halflings after deciding to break out. But we also couldn't return you. By the time we figured out that you were not susceptible to our magics, your village was gone. Time moves differently. It was now a logging town of humans and dust, and I was supposed to leave you there, and I couldn't. Maybe you would have been better off if I had. And then one day, it seemed to take. It was like you were playing along with the act, and I didn't care if you were or weren't.
There's always been a worry that I was different. That I didn't belong in the Fae. But I dismissed it. Because I loved you. I do love you. And then I'll bring myself closer to Tanabori and go, Mum, I'm just scared of... If I was just meant to be lost, will I be lost forever? Will I find a calling? Will I find a home? I don't know if that home's with you, if it's here. I just... Everything I think I know feels wrong. And at the moment, it feels like you caused that. You've put me in this position. I almost want you to tell me what to do next. I need you, Mum.
If you look, there's soft tears running down the face of Tanabori. If this is one thing I learned about Ivolu is even when you are lost, you seem to be doing the right thing. You are kind and caring. And one of the reasons why I did not fear that all was lost once I learned you had regained your memories is I know even if you dismissed me and never saw me as a home again, you would continue to do the right thing. The Fae will always have a home for you. But it's important for you to understand, Volu, that our home is wherever we choose it to be. As now you feel the presence of our little glade out here by the lake. And you have found those that you might call a family, that you might learn to trust again.
At that point, Bolly would just hug the tree.
And again, some arms will sort of merge out, and they're almost like shifted, barky, like almost sculpture-like arms, but they do sort of shift and embrace you in a hug.
As I kind of feel the embrace, although we don't really feel it, it does feel like the fire inside kind of quells, and it's that warmth that you have when you're with someone that you unconditionally love. And I'll ask Tanabori going, is it okay if I take you with me? And gesture to one of the arms. Say if I can take a branch or a twig.
They will there's a smile before they sort of, I had already thought something similar. And sort of almost you hear like a clunking, but like the echo of something falling in the hollow of the tree. And sort of rolling out is it's almost like a small, if you imagine a pocket watch, but perfectly carved from wood.
Mm.
And as you sort of pick it up, it's almost like a twisted, entwined, intricate, as if all the leaves and twigs have been twisted in and out of each other. And there's a singular one sort of sticking up that is currently sort of twitching in the direction of the tree. My trees are placed all over Astera. This amulet will guide you to the closest one of that kind. If I can, or I'm able to talk to you again, I will do it via this. But also, you can carry a piece of me with you. To let you know, the real Tanabori can always hear you when you speak to them, Volu. They just aren't always able to respond. There are many eyes upon us now. And I must warn you, if you encounter celestials or fire elementals, be wary of them. Since your friend's actions with Tenebris, they are quite heightened. I must also warn you that some of our agents have visited the temple that you are in. We believe the knights, the watchers, have taken the object from the vault. There was nothing in there when we investigated. That should at least
through the locked doors.
Mm-hmm. They weren't locked. He never relocked them. However, that should keep the attention off you for now. We are not quite as in a hurry to attack them head on yet. Though I imagine the more desperate that the factions get, that will eventually come. But for now, they are looking for groups of knights I was worried again about your friend, but he is moving alone. I do not think that will attract the same attention.
He is an outlier, but he's a good friend.
Is there anything else you wish to ask of me before?
Just keep safe. I love you, Mum.
I love you too, Baldy.
He'll kind of dry his eyes, and compose himself, and go, Canda, do you want to speak at all, or do we come?
Yeah, they will come back and say, you can wait outside a minute. I do need to have a quick conversation about what my next steps are.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's up to you. Are you going to try and listen at all, or are you just going to leave them to fully?
I'll give them half a minute, but then I will kind of compose myself and listen. So I'll miss maybe the first part of the conversation, but I will try and listen in after that.
Okay, drop me a perception.
13.
Okay. The only thing you catch is the ruins of Fort Auger.
Fort Auger.
I've put it in the chat in the Roll20 chat. It's AUGUR.
AUGUR.
Almost like augury, but auger.
Yeah. Ah, I almost got it right.
Before that's almost like the trailing bit of the instruction, and kind of just goes, "Okay, I will let you know when I've arrived." They seem to wave the incense again underneath, and the face returns to a carving. They will come out, and together you can start walking back. They will say to you, they hand you the bag, and as you look in, there are 3 more bundles. They will say, I have also left in their instruction how to make them. I can show you if you like. Unfortunately, some of the ingredients do not grow naturally here and do have to be purchased, but with the amulet you have gained, you can commune with her very much the same way.
Oh, so 3 bundles of like sage and
To basically, it's almost like a direct sending, but with a copy of the person. You're almost summoning a copy of that person rather than the person themselves. They will say, be aware, the memories of the different trees, we organized this one to be more up to date, but the older the tree, sometimes their memories are not as good, or it is still a living creature, you gather. They are just inhabiting its form.
Okay. Thank you.
You would be able to return. I imagine again, as Eleni said, you have already slept. So even if you're sort of drifting, you're probably not like deep sleep, and you would hear, you'd be hearing them return. Dante, over the time, it's maybe only been an hour of your watch. It's not been the full watch, and over that time, very little has happened. Other than the crackling of the fire. I assume you're probably you're keeping it going when it dies down, or poking it and watching the flames and such. Is there anything else anybody would like to do? You would see Canda does head straight to bed and sort of rolls over and begins their actual long rest. Anything anybody wants to do? Otherwise, you could just knock off a long rest.
Yeah, I'd be pretty much. I'd just give a nod to Dante and then head straight in.
Spend some time with Woofus, teaching them to stay further.
I think you can do another four.
You can do another
4. You could do another 4 hours on it.
4 hours, lovely. Brings us up to 11 hours.
Nice.
At what point are we classing each thing as being taught?
So I've been having a look at a few different things. For the basic ones, I'm saying 20.
Okay, cool.
For things that are more complicated, like if at some certain points you want him to be able to, because there's essentially, when I looked at it, there's the basic commands, and like obviously we were talking about it with Chris's dad and stuff, but like you've got your basic sit, stay, those sorts of things, but you will eventually have things where you want it to be like a sheepdog, where you can give it a command which is push them this way, or wrap round on this side, or bark at them and don't bite them, and those more complex ones can occasionally take longer. But and in the older systems, which I kind of liked, there were like groupings of commands. So if you're teaching it to guard, that is almost sit and stay.
Yeah, sit, stay, protect.
So in those senses, if you knock off the basic ones first, it makes we'll look
complex
for this initial one. It's definitely a 20-hour.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, definitely starting to get it, and you would all be able to get a very peaceful rest. It is a better rest than you've had outside in like an outdoors environment for a while. In the morning, you would wake to Kanda cooking and would begin to prepare to set off back, if that is what the group are ready to do. And as you're sort of collecting your things up and preparing for the day, I think that is where we will end the second part of this episode. Thank you very much for joining. As always, thank you very much for playing. If you want to find out, if you want to find out what happens next, and see whether Dante has finally managed to get the curing flames, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out next. And as always, rule well. Bye.